Okay, so here we go. Well, I'm going to introduce myself quickly. I'm Cindy Jovanovski. I'm the president of the Fiber Group, and I'm just going to read the group rules quickly. Our goal for the group. Our group has shared many ideas and information with all of you. Some of you may have found interest in them while others not. That is okay. We think it is important to remind you what this group is about. We are a support group. We talk and share our thoughts and ideas. We have speakers each month and also have provided a second meeting on the fourth Thursday each month for you to share. We do not endorse any products. It is information only. We feel that each of you can make your own decision on what we present. We do like to hear what is working for you. Maybe others will try what you're doing. We try and make the meetings as positive as possible. Remember, what works for one does not work for all, but it is our duty and goal to bring the information to the group so you can decide from there. Okay, so should we start introducing ourselves or just introduce our speaker?
I'm Cheryl. I'm the vice president of the group.
Nice to meet you.
Thank you. Mary Lou?
Yeah, I'm Mary Lou, and I've been a longtime member of the group, and I certainly enjoy it. And I think these two are doing a good job.
Nice to meet
Thank
you.
you.
Thank you. I've been the president since the summer of last year. Our former president, she stepped down, so she gave me the role as president. I was vice president first, and then I guess that she promoted me to president. So that was a really great honor. So I'm glad to be here.
Nice.
So I guess we're going to introduce our speaker. Did you want me to read your bio, Karyn, or did you just want to jump in and introduce yourself?
Oh, that's fine. If you'd like to. That's fine.
Okay, so everybody, let's meet Karyn Choate. She's our speaker for today. She is a natural digestive health specialist, certified iodile. I can't pronounce it, iodila. I'm sorry, I can't say it. And certified holistic health coach. She's been in practice since 2014. She has an office in downtown Rochester, and she's been there for approximately 5 years, correct?
Yes.
At the Natural Digestive Health Center. Okay, so here we go. Nice to meet you, Karyn.
Nice to meet you. And
Thank
thank
you.
you for having me.
Oh, you're welcome.
So I know a couple of you girls said that you had a lot of anxiety today. So I would like to start the meeting by just taking a couple of nice deep breaths. Now, before we do that though, I just want to kind of explain. I recommend breathing exercises to everyone that comes into my office. I just want to explain the benefits of them. They're very simple to do, but they have tremendous impact for your body. So they help to naturally lower your blood pressure. They help to calm the central nervous system. And they also help to move the lymphatics. And the lymphatics are basically your immune system. So when you're taking in those deep breaths and you're moving your rib cage and you're getting oxygen to the bottom portion of your lung, that is a very cleansing for your body. So you've heard that expression, take a deep cleansing breath. So that's exactly what that means. That helps your body in all of those ways. So what I like to do, I have a couple of different exercises that I usually recommend. One of them is called the 4 square. Basically with that, you're going to inhale slowly to the count of 4. You're going to hold to the count of 4. Exhale slowly to the count of 4. Count to 4, and then repeat that 4 times. So it's called 4 square. Okay, and then the other one that I like to recommend also is one that you do when you're laying in bed, and that's hand on the heart and one hand on your abdomen, and you're just going to be taking in nice, deep, slow breaths, but so you feel your stomach rising. And you can do this when you're laying in bed at night, and it really helps you to get a better sleep. But any of these exercises you can do. For example, you can do them when you're sitting at your desk. You can do them when you're in traffic. You can do them anywhere. And they're just going to have a lot of help to just calm you down if you're feeling anxiety. Many times that will help. So I highly recommend them. So let's all just take a nice deep breath in. And hold. 1, 2, 3, 4. And slowly exhale to the count of 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay. And I also like to recommend that you take a couple of nice deep breaths when you go to sit down for your meal. The reason why I recommend this is a lot of people, something very simple that we haven't been taught is to make sure that we're chewing our food thoroughly. I can't stress enough how important this is. There's a couple reasons why we want to do this. First of all, we don't have teeth in our stomach to break down big pieces of food. Second of all, when you're chewing, your saliva in your mouth mixes in with your food. Your saliva contains enzymes that already help to start that breakdown process and the digestion process. And so by the time your food is going down your esophagus, it's already working on being digested before it even gets to your stomach. Even when you're having juice or smoothies, there's a saying, chew your juices, chew your smoothies, because you're allowing that to mix with the saliva and having those enzymes break that down. And so what the enzymes do is they help to break down the food, but they also help you to what's called assimilate, which means that helps you to absorb that nutrition into your cells so it can be used for energy. Okay. Any questions about the deep breathing?
I think it's helped me a little bit. I can feel like my heart slowing down and my stomach. I notice when I get the anxiety, I get a little acid, like the acid flare up a little bit, but I think it's calming down now. So that really does help.
Yeah, and that's going to help a lot. And even when you're not having symptoms like that, even if you just make a habit of doing that regularly during the day, that's going to help your body. It seems like such a simple thing, but it will have a great impact for you. And you know what, Cindy, I have a sheet made up with those 2 exercises, and I will send that out to you because sometimes it's easier to remember if you have that somewhere next to you or you're going to see it, and just to remind you.
No problem. You have my email address, correct?
I do.
All right.
Okay, so I would like to get started with a presentation. So what we're going to talk about today is auto-intoxication. How what you could be eating could be making you sick without even realizing it. So the first thing that we're going to talk about is tap water. So tap water actually contains a lot of chemicals, fluoride, chlorine, among them, even prescription drugs that people empty out. They go into the water system, and not all of those toxins are filtered out. So I highly recommend drinking purified or distilled water. There's a couple of ways that you can do this. You can buy that at the store, or you can have a reverse osmosis put onto your kitchen sink. And what that does is it takes that water, you'll have a special little faucet. What that does is it takes that water and it goes through a 3-carbon process filter, and that filters a lot of those impurities out. And the other thing about water too is I have people that tell me that they drink alkaline water. I'm not a fan of that. I don't encourage that, because you should be getting your alkaline minerals from your fruits and your vegetables. When you drink that alkaline water, your body doesn't have the mechanisms to process that like it does with your fruits and vegetables. And unless you're a chemist and you're taking your pH every day and checking where you are on there, you shouldn't be drinking that, because you can do harm to your body that way. Okay, so the next thing that we're going to talk about that we want to avoid is wheat and gluten. So I know there's been a lot of craze about going gluten-free and everything like that. And gluten is actually a component of the wheat, but what is really causing the problem is the wheat itself. What that does is it increases permeability in the gut. And what that actually means is, I know probably a lot of you have heard of leaky gut. So what that means is you have a lining in your intestinal wall, and it's a little system, and they're together like this. And so when you're eating that wheat and gluten, it creates holes in that so that the food can get out and enter the body as a toxin. So you really want to avoid all wheat and wheat products altogether. And we're going to actually get more in depth on why, another reason why wheat is really bad, and then we want to avoid that also. So the next thing that we want to talk about avoiding as much as we can is dairy. So it's a very hard one for people to give up. A lot of people love their cheese and their ice cream. Everybody loves their ice cream. There are alternatives to that. So there's coconut-based ice cream. Now there's cashew-based, and actually those are pretty good. But the reason why we want to avoid dairy is it's very inflammatory and mucus forming in the body. There are no health benefits to dairy. We've been sold a bill of goods by the Dairy Association. There really is no benefits to that. We are the only mammal that drinks the milk of another mammal. So after we have our mother's milk, which is tremendously healthy for us, that's where the drinking of milk should stop. So another thing that we want to look at avoiding is excess sugar. Whoops. So we want to avoid eating a lot of excessive sugar and having a lot of sugar in the diet. If you can avoid it altogether, that's optimal. But sugar was not actually something that the human body was meant to digest. It tastes good, and a lot of things that we're not meant to eat actually do taste good, but it's not good for our body. And the reason why sugar has a negative impact is it actually creates acidity in the body. And the other thing is it leaches vitamins and minerals from your body. So in order to digest and buffer that sugar, your body has to expend a lot of the vitamins and minerals it has. So that's why we want to avoid sugar, and especially excess sugar. So another thing that we want to avoid, and this one is really super important, is artificial sweeteners. Artificial sweeteners of any kind, NutraSweet, Splenda, they keep changing the name of them and putting them in different things. Anything that says natural flavors or natural sugars, the FDA has left that open, so that can actually contain artificial sweeteners in it. And actually the chemicals that these artificial sweeteners are composed of, because it's a chemical cocktail created in a lab, are actually neurotoxins in the body. So people that have had a history of drinking a lot of diet pop, using the artificial sweeteners such as Splenda and things like that, there are people that have been very, very sick, and things that that have happened is ALS, MS, very debilitating diseases like that from that neurotoxin. So you want to avoid that at all costs. The next thing that we want to try to avoid are soy products. So soy products, the reason why, I know a lot of people think that soy is super healthy. However, 98% of the soy that we have today is genetically modified. And genetically modified crops contain toxins and elements that our bodies were not made to digest. Once again, something created in a lab that our bodies were just never made to handle. So soy products can have effects on the hormones and the endocrine system and just different things like that. So you want to avoid soy, particularly with the thyroid it affects.
I think we have another member popping in, Catherine, I believe. She's connecting with us. Hi,
Hello.
Hi, Catherine. Nice to meet you.
Oh, nice to meet you too.
Hi, Catherine.
Hi. I only see one person.
Oh.
I have you guys know I don't know what I'm doing, and that's why it took me so long.
Oh, that's okay. I think some
I've
people
been
are used to Zoom.
putting in codes and everything. So like, okay, Lord help me.
I've been there.
So I don't know who, what's your name?
My name is Karyn Choate, and
Hi.
hi, and I'm the owner of Natural Digestive Health Center
Okay. And where you located?
in downtown Rochester.
Okay. Natural Digestive. Very good.
I'm glad we finally met you, Catherine. I know we're doing the meetings on Zoom right now temporarily because there's a lot
Yeah.
of people that don't want to come to the church yet. So
Right. And I was one of, I've only come once, so attended one meeting. And that was before the pandemic.
yeah. So we understand.
Yes. So very interested. I've been learning a lot. Actually, I've been taking Dr. Murphy, his products. I'm waiting on the new and improved fibro support product.
Okay.
I'm supposed to get it in the mail today, but we'll see because the mail is kind of,
Yeah.
you know, I'm thankful it's still running, but it's slow. So I'm sorry. I kind of, did I interfere? Did I interrupt you, you
No,
ladies?
you're fine.
Okay. I know
So
yesterday I watched a video or like you're doing the presentation, but it was about women and heart disease through Ascension Hospital out there in your area.
okay, yes, that's right in my office.
Mm-hmm. So, but I apologize.
Oh, that's okay. That's all right. We'll just pick up. You haven't missed much.
Okay.
So the other thing that we want to try to avoid are GMO foods. So genetically modified organisms. That's what we're talking about. So the reason why we want to try to avoid them is, we kind of just went over that a little bit, is they're created in a lab and they contain things that our bodies are not made to digest. And therefore, some of those elements recirculate through our body as toxins.
Okay.
We want to try to avoid those as much as possible. The other thing that we want to try to avoid is exposure to toxic chemicals. So now that can be in a number of ways. That can be ingested, so something that you eat, something that you inhale, so car exhaust or things like that, things from chemical factories, or even absorbed through the skin. So a lot of people don't realize how absorbent your skin actually is, but anything that you put on your skin actually ends up going through your body. So the skin is highly absorbent. So if you're using any cleaners or anything like that to clean your home, you should always be wearing gloves unless it's homemade type things. And even so you should be. So, and that can have an effect on your health. The other thing that we want to look at avoiding are EMFs. EMFs are electromagnetic frequencies. And now today, more than ever, we are being bombarded by these microwaves, these electronic waves. So we get those from our cell phones, our laptops, our computers, anything that goes into the wall that plugs into a current. Those are all electric frequencies. And we are electric beings. Our heart beats on an electrical impulse. So all these things do have an effect on us. So what we want to do is we want to be very mindful of where we're carrying our cell phones. We don't really want to have them next to our body. And when you're talking, you don't really want to have that next to your head either. So those are just a couple of things to consider. The other thing is when you go to bed at night, try to keep your phone away from your bed if you can. If you feel like you have to have it next to your bed for emergency purposes, put it on airplane mode. And then that way it cuts down on some of those frequencies. Ideally, you want to unplug your router at night. That's could be a big pain, but ideally you would want to do that. And then you want to look around your bed and see if there's anything that's plugged in there. Anything that is plugged into the wall is drawing a current. So even if you have a lamp, even if it's off, it could be drawing a current. And that has an effect on you also. So that's another thing that we want to.
Can I ask a question? My husband uses a CPAP machine. It's on the other side of the bed, but he needs the CPAP, at night to sleep. So,
Yeah, so I mean, there are some circumstances where you would have to have something plugged in like that, but just try to be mindful of that. And even where you're spending most of your time during the day too. So the other thing that we want to look at also are healthcare products. So what do I mean by that? So when we're talking about healthcare products, we're talking about soaps, shampoos, and toothpaste. Toothpaste that you commonly buy at the grocery store contains fluoride, and fluoride is actually a neurotoxin. If you ever look up on the computer, fluoride, when they fluoridate the water, these people are wearing hazmat suits, and the fluoride that they're dumping in there has a skull and crossbones on it. It's a hazardous chemical, but they put it in our water. So you want to try to avoid fluoride. And that goes with toothpaste, because you have what's called sublingual glands under your tongue, and those actually absorb things and send them to your bloodstream even before it's digested. So if possible, you can make toothpaste. There are a lot of different recipes online that you can find, and there are a few brands that you can get that don't contain fluoride. So you just want to make sure that you read those labels. Okay. So the next thing that we want to talk about is, I'm sure most of you have heard of Roundup, the pesticide spray. So it's an herbicide, and what that does is it kills pretty much everything that's green, and it also acts as a pesticide. Unfortunately, most of the grocery store products that you buy, a lot of those grain products have been exposed to Roundup, or what the actual chemical name is called glyphosate. And it makes people very, very sick. What happens is when it gets into the body, it stays in the tissues of the body and the connective tissues, and it can cause a lot of health problems. 93% of Americans have detectable amounts in their urine. That means this has been going on for quite some time where they've been doing it, but the awareness has been more and more, has become more and more focused on it. But you want to try to avoid that as much as possible. So what products have been sprayed with that? Corn, soybeans, oils, grains, and fruits. And wheat is one of the big grains. So we also have a list here of the products, the common products that have been, that use the grains that have been sprayed. So Doritos, Goldfish, Oreos, Ritz crackers, Cheerios, Stacy's pita chips, Nature Valley granola, Wheat Chex, Frosted Flakes, pastas, so Barilla and Mueller's pastas, and also it's in pet food. So if you buy pet food that has grains, unless you're buying grain-free, those grains have most likely been sprayed by Roundup.
When you mentioned Cheerios, I eat Cheerios sometimes, but not all the time. But at least It's toxic, correct? Like you said.
Yes, yeah. And you know, it's really common. A lot of people eat those. It's almost like somewhat of a little bit of a comfort food because we've grown up thinking, you know, that they're healthy. I mean, I know I gave them to my kids when they were little, but they all contain those elements. Those grains contain the elements from the Roundup.
Oh, speaking of, one more thing I just wanted to mention to you guys. It says the meeting time will wrap up in 10 minutes. Otherwise, it wants me to upgrade to Pro, Zoom Pro. So what should I do about that?
Hmm.
Yeah,
I don't know.
I just got that message pop up right now. It says remaining meeting time 9 minutes and 28 seconds. Upgrade to Zoom Pro. I don't know if I have to pay for that or upgrade to a different membership. If you guys are familiar with Zoom.
I'm not sure. Sorry.
I'm not that familiar
I'm
with
not
it
sure.
either.
I'm not
We'll
sure.
just see what happens in 9 minutes and 9 seconds.
Oh yeah, let's see. If we get cut out, then I don't know what else to say, or we can resume another time, or we can fix it and do something
Yeah, I
else.
have no idea. I'm not sure. Sorry.
No, that's okay.
It sounds like we could get cut off, but I don't know. I'm not an expert on it either, so.
I'm not
We'll
either.
see.
We'll see what
I
happens.
guess we just keep going.
Right.
Okay,
Can I ask a question?
sure.
You said about those products like Cheerios, Doritos and that, but are you referring to all grains though? I think you said that initially, grains in general?
Most of the grains, so in those products, unless you're buying something that says non-GMO and organic, most likely those products will contain those elements.
Okay, like a loaf of bread that's not organic, that would most likely have
Mostly,
Roundup or, you know, that product.
yes.
Okay, and then when you were saying about avoiding soy products,
Mhm.
do you mean like edamame and the other things, you know, that people eat that, you know, tempeh or those things? All of those would be a soy product. So do you mean that also, all those?
Yes. Mhm. Mhm.
Really? Because a lot of people eat those, I know.
Yes, yes. So unless you're buying that and it says that it's organic and non-GMO, but I mean, you know, the odds are if 98% of the soy is genetically modified, the odds are very slim that you would be getting, you know, actual non-GMO soy. So
Okay, all right. And then when you were saying about avoid milk, you do mean all milk products. You mean like yogurt, cheese, you know, cottage cheese. You mean milk products in general.
dairy in general is mucus forming and inflammatory in the body.
Right. Okay. I just want to clarify. Okay.
And for soy products, like my doctor told me to try soy milk, but you said avoid soy altogether, correct?
Yes. Yeah. Why did he recommend soy milk?
Well, I was talking to him because I have I have a lactose intolerance to milk. I told him I drink lactate milk, and then he says, well, soy milk, you should try soy or almond milk because those are healthier selections. So that's why I wanted to ask you about that.
So yeah, so almond milk would be a better choice, but there are also all kinds of other nut milks. I mean, think of a nut and pretty much they have a milk for it. So cashew milk, different things like that. There's also hemp milk, which is pretty high in protein. So that would be another one to consider also. But there are a lot of other options other than soy milk.
Well, I have another question because you just said like nut milks, but there's that one doctor that talks about lectins in nuts and that.
Mhm.
Can you comment on lectins or are you familiar with that?
I'm somewhat familiar with that, but I know that nuts have a lot of health benefits. A lot of the lectins can come from beans and lentils and things like that, which
Right.
shouldn't really make up a large part of your diet anyway. So, but the nut milks are a much healthier alternative to dairy.
Okay, thanks.
Oh, you're welcome. Any other questions? Okay, so another thing that we want to avoid is canola oil. So if you want to read your labels, because it's in just about everything. It's in potato chips, it's in soups, it's in almost every salad dressing that you look at on the shelf contains canola oil. The reason why that you want to avoid that is because there isn't a canola plant. That stands for Canadian oil. So canola oil was originally invented for diesel engines.
Wow.
And then they modified it to make it fit for human consumption. So what that is made of is it's a weed called rapeseed. And then what they do to harvest that is they spray that down with the Roundup, makes it easy to harvest. And once they do that, it goes through a heat treating process, which makes it even more toxic. So even if you see at the store where it says organic canola oil, don't buy it. You need to avoid that altogether. There are much healthier choices for oil.
Did you say it was Canadian or something?
Yes, it stands for Canadian oil. That's what canola oil is.
So it's originated in Canada? Is that what you mean?
It must have been, yes. And it was originally created for diesel engines.
Wow.
Yes.
Huh.
But it's very cheap and inexpensive. And, money is the bottom line for all of the companies. And you can almost assume, I would say a good percentage of the time when you go out to eat at a restaurant, if they're using any kind of oil, it would probably be canola oil. So you just want to be really careful with that. So
Okay.
what? Yes?
Thank you.
Oh, you're welcome. So what are the symptoms that we can experience from these things? Let me see if I can get this to stick. So gas and bloating is one of the symptoms that we have, that our bodies are becoming toxic or not getting rid of toxic waste or digesting food properly. So anytime you're not digesting food properly, that becomes like a toxicity in your body. So gas and bloating are one of the signs that we see when that's going on. Another thing that we can see is acid reflux. So acid reflux, contrary to what the popular belief is, it's not that you have an excessive amount of acid. What that is your body has a mucosal lining. Your esophagus is lined with mucosa. And what happens is with stress, and that can be emotional stress, it can be chemical stress, or it can be nutritional stress, that could get worn away and little holes can form in that mucosal lining. And what happens is the tissue underneath that is very sensitive and delicate tissue. So when you're experiencing that acid reflux, that's that acid that comes into contact with that tissue where the mucosal lining has been worn away. So the traditional approach has been with the medical community is they want to neutralize the stomach acid.
Oh.
And our stomach acid needs to be very powerful because it needs to be able to digest and assimilate protein. And it also needs to be that powerful to fight any incoming virus and bacteria that we ingest every day, just on a daily basis. So when we're neutralizing stomach acid, we're preventing the stomach from doing its digestive job. And also, we're leaving our immune system open a little bit too, because it's not killing those virus and bacteria that we take in. So the approach that we want to take is we want to repair that mucosal lining. So there are a number of ways to do that. We want to, you can drink soothing herbal teas. There are different herbs that can help with that. Marshmallow root, slippery elm. Those are just a couple of different herbs that help with that. But the most important thing first is you want to make sure that you're digesting food properly. So we don't want to just try to heal a symptom. We want to make sure that we're getting to the root cause and digesting food properly.